Hi, and welcome to Matrices Part 3. Today we're going to talk about determinants. Determinants are calculated, or one specific number. So it needs to be a square matrix, which means the dimensions need to be the same. We will focus in this class on 2 by 2s and 3 by 3s. Okay. It is one number, so that's the determinant. Another way it can be described as det A or A in like these sort of absolute value bars when you're talking about a matrix. So when I'm doing a 2 by 2 matrix, I multiply along this diagonal A times D, and then I multiply along this diagonal C times B. And because these arrows are going the opposite direction, you find the difference, so you subtract them. Now, a 3 by 3 is more complicated. So you rewrite the first two columns. So you see how I have A, B, D, E, G, H? I rewrote them right here, A, B, D, E, G, H. And then I multiply all three of these numbers along this diagonal, all three of these numbers along this diagonal, and all three of these numbers along this diagonal. Now, when I'm looking at this diagonal, all three of those arrows are going the same way. So they all get added. Then I do the exact same thing, starting from the bottom left. And again, I multiply all three. Now, all three of those arrows are going the same way. So I add all of those three together. But when I look at my blue arrows versus my red arrows, they're going different. So I subtract them, getting down to just one number. So let's see what that looks like in practice. We have 6, -2, 3, 5. We're going to go 6 times 5, which is 30. We're going to go 3 times -2, which is -6. And I'm going to subtract between the two. So I get 30 minus -6, or 30 plus 6. So the determinant would be 36. Here I have a 3 by 3, so I'm going to rewrite the first two columns. So 2, -3, 1, 6, 3, -1. Multiply these three numbers together, so 2 times 6 times 5. Multiply these three numbers together, so -3 times 0 times 3. Multiply these three numbers together, 4 times 1 times -1. And I'm going to add whatever I get. 2 times 6 times 5 would be 60. -3 times 0 times 3 would be 0. 4 times 1 times -1 is -4. So those three arrows add to give me 56. Okay, doing the same thing here. We get 3 times 6 times 4. -1 times 0 times 2. And 5 times 1 times -3. 3 times 6 times 4. Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. 3 times 6 times 4 is 72. Plus 0 minus 50, or plus -15, which gives us 57. So we're going to get 56 minus 57, so we would get -1 as our determinant for number 2. Okay. Next one, I can rewrite these two columns. 5, -1, 1, 2, -3, 0. 5 times 2 times 2. -1 times 4 times -3. 6 times 1 times 0. Add them. 5 times 2 times 2 is 20. -1 times 4 times -3 is positive 12, because negative times is negative. 6 times 1 times 0 is 0. So I get 32 for those arrows. Now the other way, We get negative 3 times 2 times 6, 0 times 4 times 5, and goodness gracious, 2 times 1 times negative 1. Negative 3 times 2 times 6, that's negative 36. 0 times 5 times 4 is 0. And then I get negative 2 over here, so I get negative 38. So 32 minus negative 38, remember that's going to turn that into a plus, because adding a negative, or subtracting a negative. So I'm going to get 70 for the determinant of that matrix. Okay. One more thing we get is you can actually calculate the area of a triangle this way. So if you have 3 coordinates, and if you line up all the x coordinates in the first column, all the y coordinates in the second column, and then put ones in the last one, and then multiply by half, because triangle, half times base times height, you can do it. So we're going to multiply up all the x's in the first column, so 3, 8, negative 4. The nice thing, it doesn't matter which order you do, but you have to line it up. So because I did 3 first, I would have to do 6 first. 8 and negative 1 go together, negative 4 and 5, and then the last one is always ones. Okay. So, oh, shoot, we of course need to rewrite the first 2 columns. So 3 times negative 1 times 1, 6 times 1 times negative 4, 1 times 8 times 5. 3 times negative 1 times 1 is negative 3. 6 times 1 times negative 4 is negative 24. 1 times 8 times 5 is positive 40. Negative 13 minus 24 plus 40 would be positive 13. In the other direction, negative 4 times negative 1 times 1, 5 times 1 times 3, 1 times 8 times 6. So that gives us 4. We get 5 times 1 times 3, so 15. 1 times 8 times 6, so 42. 48, sorry. Add those all together. Gives us 67. Of course, we can subtract there, so we're going to get negative 54. But remember, we technically speaking have this 1/2 at the end. Now you'll notice it says plus and minus 1/2. At the end of the day, area is always positive. So I just need to multiply by the corresponding one. In this case, I would do negative 1/2 to make this a positive number. So I would get 27 units squared. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.